Hi, good morning to all. Hello, stop Akash. Thank you. No, actually, like today we have a problem with that app, right? That is where like the people still not yet joined. Just will start in 1 or 2 minutes. Okay. One month, Neeraj. 1 month. Okay. Let's get into the point. We started with the services in the last session. And the last 2 sessions, there was no proper ending as because I was occupied with, like much instance and all. So that is where. So today, what I'm planning, like I'll be taking the same services session one more time from the very beginning, and how do we use the service and how to work with that particular service that we will understand, because service is one of the very important thing that what everyone should understand. Okay. So to demonstrate about the services, Sneha, more, I guess 10 days, not more than that. 10 to 15 days. Okay. Right. So to demonstrate about the service, the first thing what I can do is, yesterday's session, if you can remember, we started working with the RxJS library, right? We started working with the RxJS library. Now, what is mean by an RxJS? Tell me quickly. Everyone has to tell me quickly. What is mean by RxJS library? Sneha, I already told you 15 days, okay? Right. It stands for reactive extension for JavaScript. Okay. And it is a library, that what I can say. So whatever I have explained you yesterday, I'll explain you in detail even in today also, because service I don't want to give a stop without getting the good knowledge. That is the reason where first I'll explain you what it is, and we will continue that example. And if possible, I can show you another example also. Okay. Right. Now, what is RxJS? RxJS stands for reactive extension for the JavaScript, and it is a library. Now, what it provides? It provides libraries to communicate with servers asynchronously. Okay. communicate with servers asynchronously, I can say. Now, what is the difference between synchronous communication and asynchronous communication is, when I say about the synchronous communication, one request will go to the server and process that request, and we are able to get the response. Until unless we get the response from the server, the second request will not be processed by the server. That is what we call it as synchronous request. Understood? That is what we call it as synchronous request. But when it comes to an asynchronous request, you can send any number of requests, and each and every request is getting processed at the server and gives the response. That is generally what we call it as a asynchronous request. That means we have synchronous, and the second one is going to be asynchronous request, that what we are having. And the next one, that means how to make it like, the asynchronous call. To make an asynchronous, an async calls, we use a class that is what we call it as a HTTP client, and it is a service, I can say. As I told you, when it comes to the Angular point of view, everything is going to be a class only, right? Everything, whatever it might be, it is going to be a class only. You can take a module, it is a class. You can take a component, is a class. You can take, let's say, anything. You can take a directive, it is a class, and you can take anything. Okay, you can take anything. Whatever it might be is a class. Now, when it comes to that Angular also, Angular HTTP client is a class, and internally it is a service. So that what we can do, we have to inject the HTTP client class, and make the service calls. And whatever the service calls, if you want to do that, that you can do it. Okay. So we have to inject the HTTP client class and make the service call. So how do we, what are the HTTP client class, calls are available? We have the calls like get is available, and we have what? Post is available, and we have put is available, and we have delete is available, and we have patch is available. Like that it is going to. That means we have what? We can make all these calls. I will show you as an example how we can make all these calls together. Don't worry about it. But first we will concentrate more on get and post, because these two calls are going to be used 95%, and the remaining calls are going to be used at remaining, let's say 10%. That is the reason I'll be concentrating more on these two, how we can make use of it. But when I say about, let's say, fetch, so far, like not even, we haven't started like making an API call from today. We started long back also, right? Am I right? Tell me. We started long back, definitely. But at that time, we use a fetch method. And now I ask you to use a HTTP client class. Now, what is the difference in between these two? As I told you in the last session, the difference between those two also, one more time I'm asking you, what is the difference? What is the difference between, I can say, fetch method and using, and using HTTP client service. So what is the difference? Tell me, guys, what is the difference? What is the difference? Everyone, what is the difference between using the fetch method and using the HTTP client class, HTTP client service, or whatever it might be? Tell me what is the difference here. So the first difference is going to be what? Very good. It returns data in binary format. That means fetch will return the data in binary format, I can say. It returns the data in binary format. But when it comes to HTTP client, it returns the data in which format? Very good, very good. It returns in JSON format. It returns the data in the JSON format, I can say. And the next one is going to be, what is the next one? It is making synchronous calls, but here it is going to be what? It is async calls. Completely, it is going to be an async calls. And third one is going to be very good. Conversion is required. Conversion is required, I can say. But when it comes to here, okay, it is not required to convert. It is not required to convert, I can say. And fourth one is going to be what? Poor in exception handling. Exception handling. But here it is good in exception handling. I can say good in exception handling. That's what I can say. And at the same time, here we don't have type safety. But when it comes to here, we have type safe. That's it. So if you could remember, there are the 5 differences that what I have given. That means it returns it in binary format, and here it is in JSON. And fetch is a synchronous, and HTTP client will make an asynchronous. Not even HTTP client, whatever the items that we are provided, that we are getting from the everything is an async model only. And conversions are required, and it is not required to convert the data. And exception handling mechanism is very poor whenever if you can go with the fetch, but at the same time, it is going to be good when you are going with the HTTP client. And we don't have the type safety in the fetch, but here it is going to be more type safe that we are having. Understood? Now, the next one, how do we work with this particular HTTP client? So to work with, I already told you, to work with HTTP client class, or else like HTTP client services, we have to follow. Okay, we have to follow 3 steps. What are those? That is where I'm going a bit faster, Sudaman. Okay, what is the step number 1? Include in. Okay, include in service class file using import statement. Second step is going to be include the HTTP client module in app.module.ts file. And the next one is going to be inject the HTTP client class in constructor of service, or you may go with the component. So this is what we are having. 3 steps has to be followed, and 4th step is going to be use the HTTP methods to make the server calls. That what I can say. That's it. Now, yesterday we learned up to this much, right? Yes or no? Yesterday we learned like up to this much, and I have made like, that implementation also. So let me open my implementation. I'll go to my D drive. There we have the full stack Angular example, and I'm going to open this one with the help of the command prompt, where I can use code space dot. I'm sorry, again we're supposed to go to the Angular example. CD space Angular examples. Right. Yesterday we have implemented this one. Rajesh, I already explained you 3 times. Definitely, like, you might miss the session at that time. Synchronous means one request, one response. Asynchronous means multiple request and multiple response in a short way. Okay. Because other people may get bored. That is only the reason. Okay. Right. Now you can see what I have done. The first thing what I have done, the very first thing what I have done here is you can observe that I created a service here. You can see I created a service. What service I have created? Fake store service dot ts, that what I have created. I hope I already explained. I mean, we have already discussed about how to work with the services. A service is a class and which is having a decorator, that is at the rate injectable decorator is available, and by using that we created it. Now what I have done, first I created a service and the name of the service is going to be fake store service, that what I have created. That is the first one. And there I'm importing what HTTP client class and then injecting into the constructor. That is where, like, I have written the steps. Include the service class file using, include the service class using import statement. Now what I have done, I used what? HTTP client is my service. I imported it. That is the step number 1. What is step number 2? Include the HTTP client module in app module.ts. Now if you can go to that app module.ts, am I included the HTTP client module or not? Tell me. Yes or no, guys? Please respond. Very good. Now what is step number 3? Inject the HTTP client class in the constructor of a service or a component or wherever it is required. Suppose this service is required in a directive, then you can inject into there. If it is required in the module, you may inject it over there. If it is required in the component, you can. But as of now, my requirement is going to be, I am creating a new service. There I'm going to provide, like, the list of methods. And those methods are connecting with the server to fetch the data. That is the reason what I have done here. I'm injecting that into another service. Now here, what is this service? HTTP client is a service. I'm injecting that into another service. And here I write, like, the methods. Now what methods I have written here, you can see public get products is available. Now here you will be understanding what exactly the observable. Understand what exactly the observable. Now I'll write it over there. This is the very important thing. Okay. Now what happened, internally RxJS, RxJS, like whatever we are having, reactive extension for the JavaScript, is making async calls. That means asynchronous calls or asynchronous events, I can say. That means asynchronous actions by using a concept of observable. That means RxJS is internally making that async events, making the async event with the help of observable. Now what is here? I mean, what is asynchronous? I mean, what is using the technique internally? Somehow in depth, if you can go, asynchronous means Async means, okay, async means unblocking. I can say unblocking. Async means unblocking technique. Okay, async means unblocking technique. Okay, user might send like a single request. User might send a multiple request. User might send like, any number of requests. What an asynchronous will do. Async is nothing but it's an unblocking technique. That means it is not blocking any other request. Rather than that, it is processed as an individual request and go to the server, connect with the server and execute it at the server. Understand? And to make work something like that, what an RxJS will do is RxJS provides few components that is going to be the first one is going to be observable, and then the second one is going to be subscribe. Observable, and the second one is going to be subscribe, I can say. Now, what is observable here? It is used, I can say, it is used to configure asynchronous event. That means it is continuously connecting with the server until unless the data will become an empty. Understood what I am saying? Observable, what it will do is it is used as the type. At the same time, what an observable will do, you can see observable will make, you can see that a representation of any set of value over any amount of the time. This is a most basic building block of RxJS. Now, what it is doing internally, it is used to configure the asynchronous event. That means it will get the data in the packet. One packet is done. Then second packet, third packet, fourth packet, like that it is continuously making until unless the data is become empty in that particular endpoint. Did you understand? Did you understand this one? Tell me. That is what exactly the concept of observable. Nothing apart from that one. Now, whatever we are observing, without subscribe, we cannot use it. Okay. Now, what is meant by an observable? Observable will make continuous asynchronous calls to the server while retrieving the data. That means here you can see when I keep observable here, what is the definition? A representation of any set of value over any amount of the time. That means what an observable will do? Observable will keep on making a calls to the server until unless the endpoint, this is the service, right? This service will become an empty. That means that it runs until it reads the complete data from this particular service. Observable will make a chain of calls to the server. Understood? That is where, like you can see, I mentioned here, it is used to configure the asynchronous events to server, I can say. Clear na? Clear na? Hello? Hello? Right. Now, observable will make the request and get the data. But whatever the data we are getting, Angular will not understand the data. Angular will not be able to understand the data. So for that reason, every data that we are observing, we must have to subscribe. Understand? That means until unless we use the subscribe, whatever like it is observing, it is nothing for us. So that is the reason we must go with the subscribe. Observable and subscribe both are data exchanging component. Observable will pick the data from the database or else like, from that API, and that data will be giving it to the subscriber, and subscribe will give the data to the component. It is something like, mutual understanding. It is something like mutual understanding. So subscribe, what it will do, subscriber, okay, subscriber executes the async events simply and accepts the data, I can say. And one important point is going to be, if there is no subscriber method, observable is not required. Simply, I can say, I'm starting a new telecom business. That means I started, let's say, Aircel or whatever it might be. Okay, Aircel, that what I have. Now I have like, I have installed different places, towers, and I'm able to get like all the signals from the cloud, and it is working fine. If there is no subscriber, then is it possible to verify it? Tell me. That means we should have like, someone who uses it, right? That means someone has to purchase a mobile and someone has to maintain the SIM that we are providing, and they inserted that SIM, and then only I come to know that, and then only like, the meaning of like whatever I'm observing and giving it to them. Until unless if I don't have the subscriber, then what is the need of reading the signals from the cloud or signals from, let's say, some arbitrary or whatever it might be? Yes or no? Did you understand? Same way, the same mechanism here also. Observable, what it will do, it will make continuous calls and it will get all the things, but that has to be subscribed. That has to be subscribed. That is the reason we use the subscribe here. Understand? That is the reason we use the subscribe here. Now let's get into that example. The same thing that what I have done yesterday. First, what I have done, I'm calling get products. I'm creating a method here in my service. Now what I'm doing, I'm using it as an observable type. Now what type of data it is observing from the server, I'm specifying it over here. What type of data I'm observing, I'm specifying it over here. And then I'm going to use this dot HTTP dot. We are going to make a HTTP client call to this particular URL and get the information in the form of product info type. This is where I use that observable. Clear na? Clear or not? Tell me, everyone guys, please. Everyone tell me. Yes? Very good. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Right. Very good. Now this observable, what it will do, it will make that calls and it will get the data file. It will get the data. Later, this data, I'm going to use it in my component, right? Yes or no? Because service will never directly communicating with the HTML and display the data. We must and should have what? We must and should have what? A component is required. So that is the reason yesterday what I have done, I created a component. Now what is my component here? What is my component here? The component is going to be, I created here ng on init. Okay, yesterday this is an issue. ng on init. Okay. Yesterday what I have done, I created a component and I'm getting the data of type product info. Okay, I'm getting the data of type what? Product info, you can see. I created the product info here. I'm getting this particular data, so I created an empty variable. Now, whenever my application execute, by default, ng on init will get executed. Right? No, Srikanth, I don't want to use the NG on init. It is giving like, the more confusion to me. Don't worry then. I'll remove it. Okay, I'll remove it. And then what I can do, I'll create a simple button. And by using that button, we can make a call. Okay, if you people are getting confused, do let me know. I can explain you in a different approach. Don't worry about it. Now, what I can do after completion of this service, the first step is going to be we have to inject the service here. How do I inject it? By using the constructor. Okay, now what I want to do, I'll go to my HTML page. In my HTML page, let's have the button. Maybe I can have a H1 tag, example with get request, example with get request, I can say. Example with get request, I can say. So how I can make use of it? I'll go with the HR and then I'm going to have a button here. When user click on the button, I'm going to use btn and btn hyphen primary, that what I can say. And then maybe I can say get data is the function. Now when user click on here, okay, click on here, I'm going to write a method get product data. I'm going to write a method that is get product data. Now here you can see write the method and there you can write it. Understood? The way how we have the method, in the same way ng on init also. Ng on init, when it will be called, whenever the component will be loaded, it automatically calls. Understand? Whenever the component is loaded, it automatically calls. Now what I want to do, I'm going to get the data. So how I can do that? This dot service dot, I'm calling the get products dot, we have a method that is subscribe method. Now if you can observe the subscribe method, every time it is making an observer call and get that information. See this, right? It is making a next call and get that information. Next call and get the information. Next call, get that information. Okay, I'll tell you, Banu. Wait a minute. Okay, next call, like that it is going to be. Now, whatever the response I'm getting, okay, whatever the response I'm getting, I'm going to use that particular response and then assigning it to this project. So when I use like, the products here, why I am getting this keyword, tell me. Banu, why I am getting like, this here? Tell me, that is my first question. Because it's the same class property. Even though if you instantiate anything with the help of constructor, this total will becomes an object of this class only. Understood? That means here I created like, a fake store service. I injected in my constructor of the component. The time when I'm giving that, this object is also belongs to this one, product component. Now what happened in the dependency injection, whenever we created an object of this particular one, then only this object will be called. Until unless this object will never be called. That means I created, let's say 200 component, but I used only 20 component. If I created an object globally, then what happened? That object will be available in the memory until we close that application or not. Tell me. Yes or no? But instead of doing that, what a dependency injection system will do, whenever you call this particular component, then internally it create an object and keep it in the same class memory. So that once if this class is released from the memory, then this object also gets cleared. Now tell me, this service object is belongs to the products component or not? Yes or no? That is the reason where I use this keyword. Okay, this dot service dot get product. Now I'm going to subscribe whatever the response I'm getting. and giving into the products here, giving into the products. And not only that, suppose if I am having any kind of error, I am going to log that error also. So how I can do that one? Console.log. I'm going to use, okay, error occur while making an API call, I can say. Error occurred while making an API call. And what would be that error? That you can specify that as well. That's it. Understood? Don't worry. The declaration was marked as duplicated and then using the separate callback user observer argument signature that call specify the callbacks. Open. Duplicated. Okay. Subscribe null console info. Subscribe null console. Okay. What they're suggesting here, they're asking us to go with the different approach. But in order to understand that, we definitely need to know about what I can say, RxJS operator. That concept will coming to the picture later. Now this is one, it is ready. Now what I can do, I'll be executing this particular one. And before that, like whatever the products we are having, I'm going to displaying that in JSON format so that I'll be using a break tag here. We have the product and then I'm using JSON. We have the product. I'll be using the JSON here. Now, once if it is done, then what I can do, I'll be using app-products is available. Let me copy that and then go to that index.html. Okay, I have already done yesterday, I guess it seems. Very good module also I have used. Now it's time for us to run. So how I can do that? How I can do that? ngs-o--- project is equal to services demo. That what I can do. Okay. Now you can see. Unknown argument. Okay, it's a service demo, not services. I'm sorry. Now you can see the time when user click on the data, get data here, and you see, am I able to get the data here or not? No, data will be coming in object format. Data will be in object format. Object is different, JSON is different. JSON will contain key and value, where key is of type string, you can observe. But you can see, I'll open my fake store API, and if you can see here, that is different and this is different, guys. It's not in JSON. I can show you. When I go with the products here, now you can see this is how it is going to be ID. Okay, this is in JSON only. Then it written like, where it is going to be. While getting the data, just I'm using a pipe, nothing apart from that. See this. It is giving like, that observable data, right? That is where it is coming like, JSON only, but direct JSON is not able to display. That is where like what I have done, I'm using a pipe here. Okay, I'm using a pipe here and then click on get data. Now it will be displayed to the user. Okay, it will be displayed to the user. Now, what is your assignment here is, your assignment is going to be what? Guess. Display this data in a proper format. Very good. Nice. I know your gems. Okay. I'll make another call here. So how could I make another call? Now you can see right now what I'm getting here. What I'm getting here, you can see, observe that I'm going to get only the list of products here. Maybe I wanted to get, let's say, the categories. Now categories, you can see what type of data we are having here. Tell me what type of data here we have. Category. When I make a call to this particular API, it gives me the data of what type. What type? It will be a string array type. Very good. Nice, guys. Nice. Okay. It is in string type. Now I wanted to get this category and display it in my UI. How I can do that one? So to do that one, what I can do, I'll be writing another method in my service, right? So how I can write it? Public get categories. Public get categories. That what I can say. Public get categories. And this is a method. And it is, I'm using like an asynchronous call so that I'm using an observable and then observable of what type of data we are getting. What type of data we are getting? Tell me. Here, what type of data? Tell me, guys, everyone, what type of data? It's a string array. Understand? It's a string array. So that what I can do, I'll be using a string array here. Okay, I'll be using a string array. This is not like a JSON object. You can see that. This is not a JSON object. It's just an array which contains how many members? 4 members. That's it. Okay. Yeah, method name as your wish. Like whatever the name you wanted to give, you can just give that name. I'm getting earlier get product. I'm getting now get categories so that I can use what? Get categories here. Clear now? Clear this one. Tell me. Very good. Now I'm using return this dot HTTP dot. We will be making what call? Get call and then use the endpoint URL. That's it. Use the endpoint URL here. That's it. It's done. It's done. Why we have an error? Okay, specify the type. Now what type of data here? String array. Shrikant, if I don't know that type, some people may get that doubts also. If I don't know the type, but 99.99% we will be having a proper type. You need not to worry about it. But some cases, very rare cases, you don't know that like what type of data you're getting it from the API. Then at that time, you can use the type as any. Maybe you can try also, then it will work definitely. You can use it as going to be type any that what you can use. Understood? Tell me. But always I suggest you to go with what? A specific data type, because we are not writing like, the JavaScript logics here. We are writing completely the Angular logic. So that is the reason where I asked you always to go with a specific type rather than, a generic type, something like it. Now I'm getting like, the categories here. Now, once if it is done, the next step is going to be what? Create another button. You can see, create another button. Maybe what I can say, I'm going to write something like here, get products I can display. And then I'll be using get categories. Get categories. Now here also, I'm going to change get category data. Now I'll copy this one and then going to here and then write the method. Now you can see how it would be get category data. Now how I can get it? Before that, now what type of data it is giving me? It's a string array so that I can create a variable. Now what I can do, public categories categories I can say, which is of type string array, is equal to, I'm giving it as an empty array. And then use this particular one here. This dot get the categories data, sorry, this dot service object is available. Dot, we have what? Get categories, I can say. And here, what I can do, I use the subscribe method. Same approach, guys. One time, if you can follow, always the same. You don't need to find differences also. Now, subscribe is available. And here, we will be getting the response. And whatever the response we are having, I'm going to give it to my categories over there. That's it. Now I just wanted to display this category when user click on the button here. So that what I can do, I'll be using, let's say, a list here. Okay, I'll be using some ordered list or unordered list. I'll be using a list here, and then in G for is equal to let item, okay, of, I'll be using the category, and each and every time I'm going to use what? An item over there. Save that application. Now you can see what happened. Now when user click on get product, I'm able to get all the products here. Same time, when user click on, I'll do like a small change here. Now you can see when user click on get products, I'm able to get all the product. When user click on get category, am I able to get all the categories or not? See this? We have 4 category. The same 4 categories I'm able to display it or not. Right? So this is how it will work. Clear? Na? For you, like only one assignment I'm giving here. Just like how we can display this data by using an ng for directive and use the beautiful bootstrap classes, and by using those classes display this particular data in a tabular format. That means after getting the data, it's your job to display the data to the user. Clear? Any questions? Any question? 1 or 2 times if you can practice, easily you can understand this. You can understand. Maybe let's say we have, let's say jewelry is available. When I give jewelry, I'm able to get the data something like this, right? How I can get it? Tell me. Because today concentration is completely on this one. Get only. You may get a question now, Srikant, why your concentration is only on the get? Because post means what? User will enter the data, right? User will enter the data and click on the submit button. Then we have to send the data back to the server, right? Very good. Right now, whatever the TPS you people are seeing here, this won't allow you to make the post request. So that is the reason where we must have to create our own API to see the post request, put request, delete request. So that is only the reason where I'm concentrating more on the real-time data only for the get. But post to put to delete, I will show you. Okay. Directly we can't post from the browser. Yes, we need to have what? We need to have what? A form is required. But still, I haven't discussed anything about the forms, right? So far, we use form, but that is it's a kid forms, simple forms. It's for the kids, not for the professionals. But a professional Angular form, how we have to create. That means by using a template reference forms or template driven form, or else model driven or reactive form. How to create these 2 different types of form, that will be understanding, and how we can make use of, or how we can make display the error messages, validation. Okay, validation. So like that, we have many things that I'll explain it to you. Okay. Get is used to get the data. Post is used to submit the data. Put is used for update the data. Delete means you know that deleting the data. Generally, all together we call it as CRUD operations. All together CRUD operation. Create means insert. Patch means partial update. Suppose let's say I have some data here. I have ID, title, price, description, category, image, all these things. Purna. But from here, I wanted to update only the category. Then is it required to pass all these values? Tell me. Tell me, Purna. No need. If I just have to update only what category so that I can patch only this one. Patching. Okay, patching means partial update. I will show you that examples also, don't worry. Whenever if you want to do that partial update, there you can go with the patching. Now I wanted to use this particular one. So how I can use it? How I can use it? Tell me quickly. Go to the service and then create what? Public get jewelry info. Okay, jewelry info. And what type it is going to be? It is of type observable. And what type of data we are getting? I don't know that. So that is where I am getting the data of type any I can do. Okay, observable of any type that what I am using. Okay, any type. Now what I can do? I'm going to return this dot http dot. We go with the get request of type any I can say, and then you can give that particular API URL. Understood? It is done. Now the next thing is going to be what? I'll go to my components. And here what I can do, get jewelry data, and then I'm going to write the logic here. So how I can do that? This dot. Before that, what I can do, I'll create a variable here. Now I'm creating public jewelry products. Of type any array is equal to, I am giving an empty array. Now what I can do, I am using this dot service file dot, because in service only we have it, jewelry info dot, we call a subscribe method where I can get the response, and that response is going to be used here. Jewelry products is equal to whatever the response we are having, we can make use of. Now once if it is done, now you can see same only, right? Jewelry. No, in service I guess I use this one, right? This method name can be anything, any name, right? Sudhaman, you missed it. Okay, right, it's okay. Right, now you can see I'm going to display this one. So for that reason, what I can do, I'll be using like, a break tag here, and then let's have the button one more time. Copy this and then giving it over there. Get jewelry. And here also get jewelry data, and here also jewelry product icons. Save it and then come back here. Now we have the third button. When user click on here, now you see we have the jewelry data. That means if you don't know that what type of data we are getting, then you can specify any also. Any also you can specify, not an issue. Okay, any also we can use. But I suggest you, don't go with any always.
Because like we know that like what type of data we are getting, what type of data we are sending, everything we have definitely 100% of the clarity. I can say not 100, 99.99% we have the clarity. So that is the only reason where I suggest you to go with always this one. Okay, na? Okay, tell me. Product images are not coming via images like we are getting, man. I guess URLs are right. You see, we have the that is where I asked you to implement now. Pavan, I asked you to implement like a table and display this information in a table. That is where I asked you. That is your assignment, actually. Okay. Pavan, clear. I am displaying the raw data. What is your task is you have to implement this in a good way with the help of a table. That is what the thing. And next one, how could we know where get method is used, where post method will be used? Vamsi, it is like, simple question. I'll write it here. See, generally to the DB, I mean, from the services, like you will be getting this information for sure. Whatever you see, here you will be getting like, what type of request it is going to be. They will give you. Okay, get to post to put to patch, delete, something like this, right? You will be getting the documentation, something like this. But what exactly the get, post, put, and delete is, generally, get means getting the data from the server. Okay, it is used to get the data from server, I can say. That means reading the data. Understand? And post is used submitting or saving the data in server. That means to submit the data or save the data in the server, there you can use the post. That means submitting means what? Vamshi, what is meant by submission here? Suppose let's say you are going to register in a website. Then we have like a form where you can enter first name, last name, middle name, or else let's say some age or email address, password, confirm password, all that information you added now. And last what you're doing, you click on the register. Now what happened in the registration? The data will be saved on the server only, right? Yes or no? Data will be stored on the database. That is where next time when you log in, what happens? It will connect with that server, and whether you are available or not, if you are available, then it will display the data to the user. That is how it is. That is what the post insert. That is what I can say. When it comes to the put is exactly the post only, but it is used for updating the data. That means whenever if you wanted to update the data, okay, that means suppose unfortunately I have given my date of birth wrong in my Aadhaar, then what I need to do? I can't delete everything, right? Tell me, I can go to there and I ask them, please update my date of birth. If I tell like that, they will update only a particular thing. That is what all about that update. Understand? And then delete is something like which will be delete from server, that what I can say. And the last one is going to be patch update. We have patch update, that is going to be partial update, I can say. That means we can make a partial update to the server. Here, like what is the difference between put and patch? Suppose by using put, if I update even a single record, or a single column, remaining columns also gets updated. Okay, remaining columns also get updated. But patch, what it will do, it won't think about the remaining. Whatever the column we are updating, it will think only about that column only. That is what the patch. Clear now? Altogether, that is where I call it as a insert, update, delete methods, nothing apart. Sir, how can we connect to the database? I told you around 30 to 40 times. Again, I'm telling you for today, but tomorrow onwards, if anybody is asking the question, I'll ignore. Any front-end application will never able to communicate with the direct databases. Any front-end application, it is will never able to communicating with the direct data.